Garland Nixon hanging out. Oops. Hello, Garland Nixon hanging out with Matt Weinglass. Got my timing a little off now, but that's okay. We're good. We got important stuff to talk about. He's out in Southern California, and we want to get his perspective on the riots or protests or whatever the heck they are. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon, and hanging out with Matt Weinglass. Matt Weinglass, you can find him on Rumble at The Homeless Left. Also, guess what? He's on YouTube. He's on YouTube with THL Presents. That's right, THL Presents on YouTube. Apparently, they're back. Apparently, they're out in the open, and that's great. It sounds like you guys are monetized again and all that stuff.
We have submitted officially for monetization. We're going through the waiting process. They're going through very carefully to see if we actually qualify, but they did tell us we qualified. So let's see what happens. We certainly have the support on YouTube, especially for our anti-war coverage, specifically the challenging of Israel. As you know, we do this, all the time. But now it seems that there's enough people that are helping us get the algorithm back on our side little by little. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. All right, glad to know that. And let's don't forget, go to THL Presents, and you'll see all kinds of good content. In fact, aren't you? I think you're running this show right now on there, aren't you?
I did not get it up there on there just yet, but this is so. Yeah, we do have to be careful on there. We do the lives. We have to be very careful. We don't want to get this channel terminated. Our last channel at The Homeless Left was terminated, so people don't. Just so they are clear about this, they said our content was too dangerous for the community. So the fact that we got this second channel, I know, right? We call it our burner channel. We had no idea it would actually get to this place. A couple videos went viral. One particularly we did on Gal Gadot protest in London. That one kind of got a lot of attention, and now for some reason they're allowing us to exist in the second stage of the game. So we just have to be careful with what we leave up there. But our Rumble channel, that's free and clear. We've had that the whole way. That's the Homeless Left on Rumble. No problems over there. Just keeping all our stuff up there.
Man, I like that. TDFC. I need a hat that says TDFC. What does that mean? Too dangerous for the community. That's like the group Public Enemy, naming their group Public Enemy. I mean, how great is that? You know what I mean? Talk about anti-system. We're too dangerous for the community on our channel. YouTube even told us that already. That's great.
Yeah, you embrace the thing that they're trying to label you as, and you say, fine, we'll just go all in. We'll double down, see how you like it. Yeah, exactly. I love it.
All right, let's go. Let me say this. You got to fill me in because I'm so busy with like foreign policy stuff, whether it's Ukraine or Gaza or the Sahel or whatever, right? I don't know what the hell's going on in the U.S. And I know that there's protests going on in LA. I just recently found out that they're about immigration. Fill me in. For those of us who've been living under a rock, who don't know anything about us, fill us in on what's happening in LA and where we are.
Absolutely. Okay. So the immigration policy, we know that was one of Trump's biggest campaign points that he ran on. He ran that he was going to do something about this border. It's obviously a problem. Now, his hard stance on it is that he was going to up the deportations. Now, he ran that same campaign, way back the first time, and we never saw any actual deportations rise up. In fact, we did the math and saw that, we've had this conversation several times that Obama and Biden had way more deportations than Trump ever the first time. But this time around, he has increased it. He's put these ICE raids have been increased very recently. When he first started, now I want to be clear on the timeline. When he first started, he was averaging about 600 deportations a day. That's still half of what Obama's best year was, which was 2013. So even as his presidency started earlier this year in January, we were seeing the similar pattern of a lot of it was just going to be hype. Well, now we've seen a change. In the last couple of weeks, we've seen the deportations increase to 3,000 a day.
Wow.
Yes. Now this is a real thing. This is not just a campaign promise. This is really happening. So when the ice raids started going around Southern California and just showing up every day, and they're just taking busloads away. What's happening is the sentiment here in LA is getting the fear is just, it's everywhere, and people aren't even showing up to work. We're talking about, farm workers, people that are, so all of the businesses have been affected over these last couple of weeks. So now naturally you're going to have the people kind of organize and do a little fight back. Now, here's what's happened that's very strange, Garland, in the last couple days. The deportations have stopped, primarily over the last 48 hours. Some would assume it's because the people got in the streets, but there might be something more to it. This might have just been up it for a little bit to scare them, show that Trump means business, and then go back to the way things were. He has to protect his donor class. He has to protect the big corporations that don't actually want all of their cheap labor going away. That's the whole point. That's the game plan, Garland. It's the idea is that you just run on these things. You don't actually do anything about it. But here in LA, certainly because the Latino population is the largest here, they're going to be most affected. And these are not just people who are here that are, undocumented. We're talking about family members who know people who know people. So everybody in LA seems to be affected by this. That's why this weekend has been so I would say chaotic. And the reason this is because people have taken to the streets to protest the ICE deportations. They're doing it preemptively. So we saw down in Paramount, Compton, this is where the LA riots first, we know of, the like we showed up there. We were there to see this for ourselves. And it was pretty wild this first night on Saturday where things got really bad. They were protesting right in front of where the ICE office was. It's across from a Home Depot. They never did the raid there. So the people were there in advance to preemptively say, don't do this. So it might have actually worked. But the point is, Trump's back to the not doing 3,000 a day, but the people have taken to the streets. We can get into more of that in a little bit here, but just so the viewers understand the context going into this. But all eyes right now are on LA, especially in the last 48 hours. And we've been there the whole time. So I can tell you a little bit more about it too as well.
Sure, go ahead. That's everything what you've seen there and all the stuff.
Okay, so getting into the mix, we've seen that these the protesters. I got to say, because we've covered a lot of protests. We've seen, we've done a lot of Palestine protests. We were around looking at back with the Black Lives Matter protests. We've done a bunch. We've done healthcare worker stuff. We've seen it all, and we understand how organizing works, right? And in organizing, you always have, a couple people kind of off the grid doing their own thing, but mostly you want to stay peaceful. You want to stay well together, message driven. With Palestine, we know that they don't like to, you don't want to take your mask off and be recognized because that people can be targeted. In this case, it seemed like completely chaotic from the beginning. What we saw was a lot of aggression from the protesters before the police moved in and did the thing they usually do, which is they usually are pretty violent off the bat. But in this case, we saw a lot of protesters initiating the violence. They brought weapons. They're ready to attack beforehand. Now this part's also very important. The National Guard was called by Trump. This is one of the talking points where they're saying on the left, they're saying this has never been done before. This president is out of control. And we know that's one of the mantras for stop Trump at any cost. Look what happened. You voted in this monster. He's doing something that's never been done. Well, that's not true. We should know in LA that the National Guard was called here during the LA riots in 1992 after Rodney King. So this has happened before. The difference is that in 92, you had an agreeable governor that went along with it because it seemed like it was the right thing to do. That was Governor Pete Wilson, who went along with the National Guard to be here. It was kind of like a no-brainer. You needed it here. You knew what was going to happen. But still, it's not the first situation that we've seen a governor and a president not align on something like this. We're talking about, is this a federal issue or is this a state issue? So we have Gavin Newsom here right now who's saying, no, I got this under control. This is not your business. You're out of control trying to make this a federal issue. Don't send the National Guard. Well, Trump says, no, I'm overriding this. I'm going to do this. And I want the viewers to know that's been done too. if you go back to 1965, we had a similar situation where Lyndon Johnson overruled the Alabama governor. It was George Wallace, who did not want to have anything to do with this, but Johnson said we have to protect Martin Luther King, the March of Selma. So that was a significant point in our history where you had a very similar situation that's happening right now, where you had the federal government overriding what the state wanted. So again, you're going to hear talking points about this has never happened before. It has. Trump's doing something that is actually legal to do. So I wanted to make that part clear. So as a result, we have a divide right now about what's actually happening in the streets. As you could guess, Garland, the people looking from the outside in, that I would say more in the right wing, that are more Trump supporters, what you're going to say is these people are out of control. They are insurrectionists. All these years they've been calling us insurrectionists, but these are the real insurrectionists. The violence is very out of control. The putting cars on fire, a bunch of Waymos being set on fire. You have graffiti everywhere. You got, but this is the violent part. This part's important. The throwing of bottles, throwing of bricks right at the police. They're actually going right at the police cars as they're riding by, getting onto the freeway. And antagonizing a lot of and the police showed up as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on right on the 101. They had it blocked off for several hours, and it was like a gang war in the middle of the street. But again, the protesters have been initiating. This part you won't hear. There is an infiltration element that is definitely happening. We looked into it here on the second day. So the second day, this was last night. We were in downtown LA. This is by Union Station. And it was very, very clear that the people instigating the violence were not dressed like the rest of the protesters. They seemed to be affiliated with anybody. They kind of crept out of the shadows.
They were affiliated with somebody, all right.
But
not the FBI.
So this is what we saw. And we're like, doesn't seem right. And so this is how they would escalate. This is how the escalation works. If you throw something at the police, they're going to fire they're going to basically fire either their tear gas or a smoke bomb right in the direction of where that attack came from. So that they know that's going to happen. So what ends up happening is these people come in and they're fully covered. Their faces you can't see them. They're very muscular built, and they kind of creep out of the shadows. They throw some crazy thing at the police, and then the police are firing back into the crowd. And so the crowd is all kind of in this arm's way all around the police. And it's because of these little instigations that are happening that don't seem to be fully connected with the protests. So people might ask, well, why do you think that's happening? Why would anybody want to instigate and get this thing to go? And as you know, Garland, this is how infiltrations work.
Oh, yeah.
You want to create a state of duress. You want to create a state of chaos. Therefore, the only solution to that chaos is more surveillance state. And that's what this really is about. The timing of this couldn't be any clearer. That this, as I said earlier, you have this escalation by Trump of 3,000 deportations every day. It's not a coincidence that this happened right after the Palantir contract. There you go. And now you're seeing, if you guys look at Twitter right now, look at some of the right-wing commentators. They are saying LA's out of control. They need to be made a lesson of. Send Palantir in there right now. Laura Loomer's doing that right now, calling on the overlords to bring this technology to the city of LA, teach those protesters a lesson, and get everybody hooked in on this. We know this digital ID. We're all in this one database. It's going to be, you're going to see it's Minority Report, RoboCop, and all those sci-fi movies mixed all in together in one.
Judge Dredd and all that stuff. Yeah.
There you go. And so that's where we're headed to. And it's worked. They've tricked us all into the next stage of the surveillance state game. And here we are. We're living through it.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. Is interestingly enough, I didn't know enough about this, but I thought, okay, man, Trump announces that he's going to get Palantir. Oh boy, the guy who is here to protect our First Amendment rights. Stand up for the First Amendment. Stop all of this censorship, right? And next thing you know, well, we'd be far better off if a CIA front company had every person had a dossier, an extensive dossier, which no doubt will include your DNA and everything else, and facial and pupil and you name it, right? Palm print. I don't know if you've seen it where, what is it? Amazon now has this palm print thing. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Where and it's oh great, you can give them their full palm prints, and you just walk in the store and you show your palm print. Next, you'll be able to go to the movies, palm print. You're paid everything, palm print. Yes. And of course, Palantir gets all of this stuff, your palm print, your everything. And what do you know? Hey, we've got terrible riots and there's terrible things going on in LA. Here's the thing. The people who would oppose this are probably usually the most conservative people like us, or the real conservative, the MAGA people, stuff like that. The people who were suspicious during COVID, those are the people who are going to oppose this whole Palantir thing. How do you get them? What is an area they're going to hate? LA.
Yeah.
They're going to hate the LA people. And what issue are they behind the most? Immigration. So you give them the issue, the people that would push back against Palantir the most, you give them the issue that they would most be most likely to support a crackdown on, which is in LA and immigration. A bunch of guys in well-pressed khakis with comes in and suddenly start throwing you ever notice that the agent provocateurs always have on a well-pressed a pair of chinos, you know what I mean? And they're going to come in and throw something at the police are back, and there you have the operatives.
Yeah.
Bring on Palantir. Who didn't see that coming?
Well, that's the saddest part about it, Garland, because as you know, obviously we're sitting here in Southern California. We're in the middle of this is the most liberal, capital of the country. But as we've seen it's kind of just gone downhill over these last several years to a place where the people themselves think they're the progressives. They think they're the liberals. They have been captured and they don't even know how to respond to this. And I'm seeing, and it troubles me so much, Garland, to see my fellow colleagues here in LA, industry professionals, the way they're responding to this, and they're no different than the people captured on the other side, because what they're doing is they forgot their moral values. They don't have any, and they're using the other side against it. They're saying, and they're using January 6th. I'm seeing a lot of people comparing this on both sides of January 6th. If you're on the right, you're saying, well, you're going to treat our people like this on January 6th. Well, we're going to treat you like that. And it's like, that's not principle. That's just revenge. And the same thing's happening here. They're saying, hey, you guys, now you're going to yell at us after everything you did to the Capitol. You guys went inside the Capitol, you mother effers, and you can't let us have we actually have a real issue we're fighting for. So both sides are totally captured into their tribe. Meanwhile, the overlords are playing puppeteer games with the puppets on both sides, and it's funny to them. I think they must be amused by this. The sociopaths running this operation, how they play us every time there's another movement. And like you said, Garland, you hit it on the head. This is the perfect opportunity to drive that nail into the coffin, because you use LA, you use the emotion here, you use it against the people, and you make them look like the real insurrectionists, the people that cannot be contained. They're out of control and they need to be punished. Laura Loomer and others are telling us right now on Twitter, we need to punish those a-holes in LA for what they've done, because they are not American. They are the domestic terrorists, and we need to bring in the punishment team right now, Palantir right now, and teach them that lesson.
You got them screaming, give us Palantir. We want Palantir. It's so great. And here's what's great. The whole liberal class went bananas over January 6th, and the people that were looking at it said, there's something fishy here. It certainly looks like a psyop. It certainly looks like there's some tomfoolery going on from the FBI, right? So now here's what I think. They learned. The system learned, oh man, that worked real well. And look, we got all this stuff out of it. We got all the liberals on our side. Do you think we can do a January 6th for the conservatives? I don't know. Let's give it a shot. Where would you do that? LA, of course. Okay, good. LA it is. That we're going to look. Like you said, you go in there and you get a bunch of people, you do a big operation to grab a bunch of immigration, right? Okay. Then you get these protests going. The agent provocateurs, they got experience from January 6th. You said, hey guys, remember the little job you did in January 6th? Yeah, worked great. Yeah, we got a new one for you. You're flying to LA. You put them all on a plane to LA. Out they go. There's a pallet of bricks around. Hey, there you go. We're familiar with that. Throw some bricks, whatever. Throw something at the cops. The cops already know, hey, those guys over there just ixnay on the, they'll do it. They'll be throwing and running. Off they go. It is January 6th. I agree with them. It is exactly January 6th. A bunch of agent provocateurs manipulate you suckers. The last time they manipulated the liberals, and the next thing you know, they're screaming for additional $2 billion for the Capitol Police. Yeah. $2 billion for the Capitol Police. Remember that? Which just meant it's not the Capitol Police anymore. When you give them $2 billion, it is now an intelligence agency.
Absolutely.
Number one. And now you got the so-called conservatives and all these. Oh, the LA, call in the government. We need more government. You need more government. Yes, Palantir, CIA, go at it. Because they're only going to use them against them. They never use them against me.
Absolutely. And that's it. That's the formula right there. You nailed it there, Garland. And like we saw it for ourselves over this weekend. I mean, it's insane. Like we're sitting there. We were doing a story. I was helping out a TRT. They were doing a live to Turkey in the middle of the live. Like we saw it happen. Like we're like, this is insane. They had these protesters with the bricks. They just started chucking them at the cops as they're driving by. And then they disappear. And then the protesters left are there to get the wrath of the police, who were they were salivating, ready for the response, and they couldn't wait. And they just brought their barricade. And the National Guard was there. I want to tell you guys that happened. So you have SWAT, you have the police, you have Highway Patrol, of course, was there at the 101, but you also had National Guard. So you had all these different agencies ready to fight back as soon as they were given the excuse to do it. And then we're in harm's way. We're trying to do this live at the same time. The cops are coming back and everybody's scattering, and we're like, well, we're gonna have to either cut the feed in the middle of this, or we're gonna have to just like hope that no one hits us back. But the cops are firing rubber bullets at everyone. They're tear gassing everyone. A lot of our crew got tear gassed several times throughout this weekend. It's pretty insane, and this is because, like you said, it's by design to escalate this on purpose. And then people watching from the outside are going to go, there you go. You see, those people can't be trusted. They're out of control. Let's teach them a lesson. And it's the same formula. You nailed it. People need to step out of their tribes and look at it for what it is. We're all being played every time an incident like this happens. And we have to be better at looking for that red flag. Go, that doesn't look right.
And here's the thing. The police don't have to be per se in on it. They can play them. I was in law enforcement. I can tell you. I mean, not that I saw that kind of stuff, but this is how easy it would be. Let's say I was the FBI guy setting it up, right? You have your agent provocateurs in the area, throw a couple bricks or whatever, but then you call the police and you say, "Hey guys, we've got a report that there's some trouble over in off 14th and Main, Sector 7. Send some more people over there, right?" And so you tell them, send more officers. We got problems over there. That's cops, the only thing they're hearing on the radio is, "Hey, we got problems over by such and such street." They send a bunch of officers, and as they're on the way, boom, the guy throws some stuff at them. You get them out of the way. Now you got more officers. Boom, you set it up for a big smash. And then meanwhile, the guys they're throwing the bricks. They're like, recon team alpha, bricks thrown, leaving the situation. You know what I mean? And you're like, what the hell is that guy doing talking into his lapel? I thought he was throwing a brick. Well, meanwhile, I got to ask you about this. There's Bernie. Good old Bernie doing the imperialist job. I'm reading Bernie, and they're asking Bernie, and what does he say? Trump is being an authoritarian. He's bringing authoritarianism to the and I'm like, I know what that talk is. You know what it really is? It's foreign policy talk. It is the U.S. government, namely the liberal class, the liberals of the U.S. government. We have to stand up to authoritarianism around the world. And Trump, because he supports, because he's trying to get a deal in Ukraine, even though there's a lot of fishy stuff about it, at least he's voicing it. I don't trust all of it, but at least he's voicing it. He's not standing up to authoritarianism in Ukraine, in China, in Iran. And you know what I mean? It's like the idea that we want to overthrow every damn government in the world. They transpose that into we're standing up to authoritarianism. And there there's Bernie with a mantra, we must stand up to authoritarianism. It's pathetic.
Yeah, and we missed the Bernie, at least like when he started his first campaign. We missed the guy who was critical of our system, was critical of the military industrial complex as we run things, as NATO runs things. Now he's doing pro NATO events, and we know the drill. And it's sad every time to see this language, but that's exactly right. The imperialist language. Trump is the bad apple. We have to stop him. He's out of control. No president's ever done anything like he's doing right now. And he always reverts to that. And so every once in a while, we get a little tiny critique on the Democratic Party, but he'll never connect the dots for the people ever again. And maybe it's for the best, Garland. Maybe it's for the best that Bernie is telling us out loud who he is now. And it was worse before in 2015, 2016, because it was such a better presentation back then. We actually the words made sense, taking on all these institutions. That was a real populist movement, which never went anywhere. So this is better for us because he's just cutting to the chase. He's saying, this is what I do. I defend the military industrial complex. I defend big pharma, right? He's defending everything he used to talk out against. And of course, Trump is the biggest existential crisis we've ever seen in the history of our country. This is it. This is the Bernie. This is the real Bernie talking now. So yeah, we have to stop being so emotionally affected when we hear him talk, because he's just telling us exactly who he is every time now.
Well, I'm looking here, and it's like he was interviewed by the BBC, and here's what here they say: Bernie said it was wrong to pin Harris's defeat on then President Joe Biden's late retreat from the race. Rather, Sanders said, to my mind, that was a campaign that should have been winnable. Really? He is still arguing that somehow that idiot should have won the race. But here's the problem with Bernie saying that. It should have been winnable, right? He's making an excuse for the lying, warmongering lunatics who censored people, who did every authoritarian thing you could possibly, who destroyed us in every way, from economically to diplomatically to militarily, you name it. He's basically saying, I'm okay with the way the Biden administration ran the country. I'm okay with the way they ran the party. I'm okay with lying about his health and dementia and everything else. I think they still should have won.
He's also saying, I'm okay with them stealing a primary from you and swapping out this guy when it was okay to say that he had a problem, right? That he had an issue and he needed to step aside. Throw in this person had no credentials to do this job, had no support, never had any support when she ran for president. Not capable at all to do the job, like you said. So there's no critique there. So what does this mean, Bernie? That you're okay with them doing this again? Just doing a swap out, shouldn't we have had RFK Jr. on the stage just because that's the way we should have run our democracy? Oh, by the way, the democracy that other guy was going to take from you. Don't worry. We're just taking your democracy now, so he doesn't take it from you later. You thought that was a winnable strategy. No, it's not. And he's not willing to say the real thing out loud, which is the Democratic Party hijacked your democracy and used it against you and bullied you into trying to vote for this person and called you a sexist, a racist if you didn't. Come on, Bernie. You're smarter than that. You're better than that.
And how about this? He's arguing, even though the Democratic Party was committing a genocide, yeah, they still should have won. I thought that was winnable, really, even though they were committing a genocide at the time. Here's what he says. Sanders said that instead of focusing on the concerns of the working class, Harris and the Democratic Party instead bumped elbows with billionaire friends and people like Liz Cheney. Well, Kamala spent more time with Liz Cheney almost than with anybody. What is that message out to working class people? That's not a message. It's reality. It's who they were. They hung with their brethren. But it's still, if you focus on the election, right, It's like watching a game that somebody plays terrible and loses the whole game, and you just talk about the last 2 minutes of the game, the last 30 seconds of the game. They lost, they played horrible the whole game. And you just say they lost it because they made a bad pass at the end of the game, but ignoring the fact that they were down 20 points already because they played horrible the whole game. Bernie says, let's ignore foreign policy that people were unhappy with. Or from one end to the other. Let's ignore their economic policy. We had massive inflation. Let's ignore, and they still don't want to talk about COVID. There was just a lot of people unhappy with the mandates and things that happened during COVID and mandating shots and not getting. Let's ignore the censorship. Let's ignore the way they governed. That's Bernie. How more of a simp could you get? No, let's not even talk about how they govern. What he's saying is it's not important how the Democrats govern. In the end, they didn't do the things they needed to bamboozle and confuse and propagandize the American people properly so they could get their votes.
Yeah. Yeah. And you brought up the sports analogy. This is important. People have to understand this tribal thing. How ridiculous would it be if a coach was in a huddle with its team, like you said, the end of a game, and said, the other team's doing this, the other team's doing that. And you said, hey, coach, are we going to get any critique on what we need to do? What are you, with the other team? Get the hell out of here. I mean, that's the way people are behaving in this party. And anytime you're in that tribe mindset, you're not allowed to critique your own team because you might be you might be helping the other team. No, we're trying to beat the other team. So why don't we do a little self-critique, a little self-reflection, how we can do better so we can actually win? No, you're not allowed to do that. And even after the election, after you lose, you're still not allowed to look back and go, what could have we done better? No, you can't do that. You're helping the other guys look good. They look good when you do that. No, that's not the way the game's supposed to be played. So people need to start understanding that and look for that and get the hell out of that tribe if they're not letting you push back and have any sort of critique for it.
Oh, yeah. And when you look at it, what kills me, the whole liberal class. So what they did was they put up some of these people on HuffPost's comments, and one of them says it was the 6 million pearl clutching Democrat voters that voted for Biden then chose to sit at home this last cycle. So the problem is always the voters, the littles. They didn't do what they were told. They voted for Biden last time. They did what they were told. They didn't do what they were told. We told them to vote for Harris. It's their problem. And what I've had people say to me, yes, it's the voters' fault. And I say to them, yeah, I'll take that argument. Yes, that's pretty much it. What you're saying is this. The reason that Harris lost is because people didn't vote for her. I would agree. That's why everybody lost. Now, if you may believe that it's those people's duty to vote for her, that ain't going to help you. You can always believe. You know what you can say? It's the fault of the Trump voters. Why, if every one of them had voted for Kamala Harris, she'd have won unanimously. It's the vote of the people who died before the election. If they'd have just lived a little bit longer. All of those sound good. But the reality is this. There ain't no second place. So, you know who makes excuses? I always say this. You know what? One thing Michael Jordan never did, he never wrote after the championship a book that said, this is why I lost. He won. And they just, now, you know what the Democrats are really good at? Coming up with reasons why they lost. Yeah. And they better get good at it because they're going to have a lot of practice coming up with reasons why they lost.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're going to have, they're very creative about it. I love that. And if you were referencing the Hillary book, the What Happened.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's like, it's very creative to sit down and say, how many things can we blame this on? Let's blame it on Bernie bros. Let's blame it on Putin. Let's blame it on sexism. And it's so remarkable. All the different pointing the finger at it rather than just, hey, what kind of campaign should we have run better, and stop blaming the voter? As Lawrence O'Donnell told us back in 2010, he told us this is like the best advice you can get from a mainstream media guy. By the way, before he got his big show, so he's able to be honest about this back in 2010, he says to us, if you want the party to do anything for you, you have to demonstrate to them you're capable of not voting for them. You're supposed to have that power. That's how politics is supposed to work. You're supposed to tell them, I'm going to go over here. It's not on me to come back to you. It's on you to come meet me. Give me a concession. Give me something. Change my mind. That's your job. And if you don't do that, it's on you. I'm going to be over here until you figure something out to throw my direction. If people could behave that way during politics, not just every 4 years, this should be around the clock every year. This is how we should behave. You have to earn me. All right. What are you going to do for me? That's how we all need to start thinking about this. And then they'll have no choice. They're going to have to say, how do we get you back? But if they think they can get you every 4 years and do whatever they want you to do, they're never, ever going to do anything for you.
You know, the Bernie Sanders thing, to me, it's so old at this point. Like, here's what happens. Bernie says, "Oh, we should have Medicare for all," or something like that. And people should have health care, and we should do some. He says some things that sound great, right? And then the party goes, that Bernie's just a crazy old idiot, socialist, idiot lunatic, right? And then they dismiss him, and they don't want to hear anything he has to say. And Bernie plays along with that. That's his job. And then they get the crap knocked out of them. And then they call Bernie, we need you to come out here and tell them people that crazy stuff that people kind of do really want health care and, things like that, right? And they want decent schools. So your job, Bernie, is to come out and tell them that again. And then Bernie comes out and says, we should all get health care and decent schools. And then the party goes, guys, you think we should have listened to Bernie? He seems like he had something there. Sorry about that, Bernie. We were in error. And they put him on, like, he goes around and he goes on stage. He gets interviewed for the Huffington Post and he says the same thing. And the party all sits back and they go, we really should think about this Bernie thing. I guess maybe schools, people might want their kids to go to, I don't know. What do you think, right? Then an election comes and goes, and Bernie says, healthcare in schools. They go, get out of here, you stupid socialist. Your job after we lose is to try to bring the suckers back in. Don't say it during an election because we ain't going to do it. And Bernie's, but don't tell me that I can figure this out, that you can figure this out, and Bernie can't figure it out. Bernie knows his job.
He knows. And it's really sad because you think that for his legacy, so he's so concerned about legacy, right? He famously said in a closed door meeting in 2020 that he doesn't want to end up like Ralph Nader. And it's just like, dude, that's your concern. You're going to end up much worse than that the way you're going, because your legacy is showing that you don't have any principles or morals. Because like you said, Garland, we know that that we're right, that we know that it's BS, and you're doing it anyways. So what do you think the legacy is going to be? Do you think the mainstream gets to write your legacy? Well, in a way, kind of, but the more that we are vocal and the more we tell the story, the people that were there, the people that showed up, we can tell the story, and it's not going to be pretty for Bernie years to come. It's not at all. So he really did not project that well as far as if he cares about his legacy. Maybe you might want to start thinking about how Martin Luther King ended his story, because his story was about standing up to the thing that was using him for civil rights. Stay in your lane. Johnson was so pissed. So how dare you, Martin Luther King? I got you civil rights, and now you're going to challenge the war machine? F you, you piece of... And Martin Luther King said, come at me all you want. It's the right thing to do. We have to take on the bigger problem, which is expansionism. It's the military occupation. It's our money being spent on foreign policy that is destroying people all over the planet. We have to focus on that. And they said, if you do that again, MLK, we will make an example of you. And he said, bring it on. That is what you call legacy right there. That's legacy. Bernie should look at that, not at, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be Ralph Nader. No, come on, Bernie.
Yeah, well, and in the end, here's what you're going to have. The people like us who are, I don't even know what you call us anymore. I used to be called, I consider myself a lefty, but the kind of lefty that, now the lefty is all about identity politics. The idea that those of us who oppose war and who don't trust the big corporations and big agriculture and all the stuff like that, don't trust big pharma and things like that used to think we were lefties, were in favor of trade unions and stuff. We used to be called lefties. Now we're just called crazy conspiracy theorists. If you're not in favor of, transgender surgeries for kids at 1 year old, if you even question stuff like that, if you want to have a discussion about stuff like that, you're a far right-wing crazies. But here's the thing. In the end, the liberals will hate Bernie, and they'll blame him, and they'll say, Bernie, if it wasn't for you, we'd have beat the Republicans all the time. The people like us who like me, I can't speak for you,
No, no,
but I'm far to the left of the Democratic
yeah,
Party, and I'm opposed to war, and I'm opposed, and I make great, I have a lot of friends who are MAGA people and conservatives and all whatever. As long as you're opposed to war, we're good. As long as you're opposed to that kind of stuff, right? So our people are going to hate him. The liberals are going to hate him. In the end, Bernie's not going to have anybody. He's going to be a man without an island. At least he could have one group that would support him. But in the end, those that he has aligned with, the liberals, will hate him worse than they hate us. And they will blame everything on him.
yeah, yeah. And then the other part of it is, if you're outside of the country looking in, if you're in Europe, you're saying, wait, they're calling this guy a radical? Like, dude, like seriously, our entire political system is such a joke to other people around the world, because they look at it and they go, you guys don't even have a left party. So that would really make Bernie a centrist at best. When you look at what is it, the thing that he's just saying, like normal things. There's nothing, by the way, there's nothing radical about someone saying, let's give everybody a living wage, let's give everybody health care. Let's just, it's not, this isn't radicalism, and it's certainly not leftism. So yeah, just as far as even how the world looks at him moving into the future and what his legacy is going to be, it's going to be weird. And as far as you and I go, and anybody else who has this might consider this a problem, that people don't know what to identify us. They want to put us in a box. They don't know what to do. Consider it a badge of honor if people around you are saying, I don't know what box to put you in. You're saying you're left of the party, but then you're saying these right-wing things. And what are you? I don't know what you are. If people are confused by you, it's because you're getting them to start thinking outside the thing that is safe for them. And so if you continue doing that, you're going to be representing morals and principles and values. And ultimately, hopefully, you can change one mind at a time, and they can start to go, I see what these guys were about. We were the ones applying principle the whole time. We were the ones applying a moral compass to whatever the protest was or whatever the thing was. We have the same. It's not hard to get it wrong. I mean, it's not hard to get it right if you apply that principle, and then we can get out of this linear way of looking at politics. We're not on a line. We're on a bottom up movement. It's are you protecting the people up here, or are you fighting for people down there? And that's really what we have to start looking at politics in that larger sense, not just a left side, right side, hot, cold, middle. It's just it's more than that. It's top and bottom.
One more thing I got to throw at you. I just throw this at you and get so I'm walking around Walmart the other day. I drive by my local Walmart. I saw, and one thing's obvious. Walmart was blue and yellow. They've changed their blue and yellow to the blue and yellow of Ukraine. Did you know that? The Walmart has changed their colors. That was a dark blue and yellow to the exact colors of Ukraine. And here's what's interesting. I searched it one day and I saw an article. It said, yes, Walmart has changed its colors to whatever the name of that blue is, which are the same colors as the Ukraine flag. I thought, that's interesting. Then I came back and searched, and guess what? Google has changed the search contents. And now it says Walmart is changing its colors of blue and yellow, but it has nothing to do with Ukraine, right? Now, the NBA championship game's on, which I ain't overly interested in. I can watch it, but whatever. I like sports, so I turn it on in the background. Guess what?
No.
The entire NBA championship game, the court, the sports where it says Indiana 2, OKC 4. Those are, one is yellow, one is blue, the color of the Ukraine flag. The color of the floor is painted the color of the Ukraine flag. I'm riding down the road the other day. There's a tow truck, the color of the Ukraine flag. I'm in Newark, New Jersey a couple weeks ago. There's a city trash truck, the color of the Ukraine flag. The United States, and people, I want you to notice this when you ride around. The United States. And to me, that's how you see it's a massive corporate psyop. Every corporation, everything, and especially Hollywood, every movie, every advertisement, everything is the color of the Ukraine flag. It is a mass psyop.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize the NBA was taking that on. That's really
everything.
Cool. We have to recognize this. I mean, obviously we're having this conversation, but there's people that they will still be like, oh, let me update my social media with the yellow and blue. And it's just like, come on, people. Like, this is not this isn't being for a good cause. This whole like spreading democracy. Haven't you fallen for that enough? It's absolutely it's top down corporate capture. We have to look out for that. That's pretty insane. I take it a little personally with the NBA one because I just thought they were at least just going to have some basketball being played this time. But that's unfortunate to hear. But yeah, we need to be a little more looking out for that massive psyop. Absolutely, Garland.
They're not, but I'll put it to you like this. Just look at it. Just look at the. Let me see if I can find a picture right here. Images. If I can find one, you'll have to. I'll put it like this. Anybody, just look at a game. Just go to YouTube and look at from excerpts. Everything. And I looked at it and I'm like, I'm not saying games are fixed, but it sure is interesting that the two teams that won, Indiana, they're yellow, and their color's yellow, and OKC's uniform is blue. And when you look at what they did with the OKC uniform, they adjusted the blue.
So it's the adjustment. It's the adjustment.
The color of the uniform is now the exact blue of the Ukraine flag.
Yeah. Well, look, the thing, and I'm remembering now what they did if you remember back to the bubble in Orlando during the lockdown, because we couldn't, because COVID was going to kill everyone. So you had to have everybody, the NBA players had to be all shipped to Orlando and play the playoffs and the championship. And all of the bleachers, there was nobody there, but you had, I kid you not, people don't remember this or they didn't know. They had Zooms set up like screens where they had people watching from home and their faces. It was the weirdest thing. It was like Max Headroom.
Yes.
It was the weirdest thing. But in that bubble, on the back of the jerseys were hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag vote, hashtag. It was the associating. We have to get Biden into office because he's going to be for Black Lives Matter. And no, he didn't do the crime bill. He didn't do the worst. Right, if you want to talk about racist policy in the history of our country, but like the point is, we have to look for that. I don't think I was fully aware at the time of what a corporate capture that was, because it came from a good place, and we understand people mean well. They think, oh, Ukraine democracy, but just stop falling for those. It's the emotional triggers. They get people. They pull on people's heartstrings, and they make you think the NBA cares and they're going to be for the people. No, this is all corporate top down psyop going on, and don't fall for it. If it's on a jersey, if it's on a logo, it's not real. A real movement is Free Palestine. You're not going to see Free Palestine on an NBA logo. You're not going to see it on the back of a jersey. If you did, you and I, Garland, and our audiences would have to question, what are we doing? But it's not going to show up, I guarantee it, because that's a real movement. That's how you can tell the difference.
Yeah, I watch it now. I look for it, right? I look for it in the same way that every advertisement that comes on, I look at it. As soon as it comes on, I say, where's the Asian guy? Right? Because I know on every advertisement, well, I saw a black female, I saw the gay person, I saw a white person, that person's kind of brown, so I guess they're going to count for whatever. Where's the gay? Oh, there you go. There's the Asian guy. You know what I mean? Every advertisement, chewing gum advertisement, whatever, that's guaranteed. That propaganda is there, right? But now every advertisement, and I ask people to do this. Look, just look at every advertisement and you will find, look at every TV show, look at every movie, every one of them, and you will find it's all Ukraine blue. And Walmart has changed everything. Every Walmart, watch this, change colors, Ukraine flag. I'm going to do a search. And when you search it, nothing. Now it was news. I'm going to search for that. Just give me 1 second. Walmart change colors. Blue, yellow. I'm just searching right now. Listen to this. The Sun. Here we go. Let's look at this. Walmart is still making changes to its looks despite the reactions to its refresh. The retailer overhauled its logo and color scheme earlier in January for the first time in 7 years, much to the amusements of customers. Now, in addition to the new shade of blue and broader stems on the yellow spark, shoppers on social media are noting other big name changes, right? So now, let's see, here we go. There we go. Wait a minute. Let me show this to you. Let me present this. This nice new shade of blue that Walmart has. Well, look at that. They went from this to this. That's the new shade of blue. So everything, everywhere is, and like I said, every advertisement, everything, everywhere. I've seen that one company that I went in that I know these people own this super billionaire company, and they own all of these apartments. And when you go into the apartments, there's these big boulders, right? They painted the boulders the color of the Ukraine flag. The boulders as you enter it's just everywhere. So I'm just telling people out there, just keep looking when you turn on an advertisement and find one that isn't Ukraine. That's how you know. I mean, how can somebody see the whole system do this psyop and think it's genuine?
You know, my first time seeing this was when we first started our show, The Homeless Left, and we didn't know what streaming to use, so we used there was one called Restream. I don't mean to plug it right now, so please guys don't.
Right.
Or you can go check it out and you'll see what I'm talking about. This was we started working with Restream. I didn't fully like it, but we were sticking it out. Then all of a sudden overnight, it was literally it was March of 2022. So right after the Ukraine war started, they went full Ukraine flag, full. But they were obvious. They were like, we support this war. This is what everything that comes through us is going to help this war. And I was like, what? What do you? This is the streaming platform. So I said, "F this. We're going to StreamYard." And so I never looked back. But they did that early, and they were very blatant about it. So yeah, this is. But now years later, they have to be a little more subtle about why is Walmart changing? They're not going to tell you right out. But back then they did. They wanted everyone to know we stand for democracy, right? We're spreading democracy, spreading our love, and we have to stop Putin from taking over the world. So that was the whole thing. And I was like, no, that doesn't seem right for where we're going to be streaming out our news show, our commentary show, our thoughtful, non-tribal show. It's like, it completely contradicts what we are going to do. So I'm like, no, let's get out of that. So
yeah, you knew you were going to in your video, they were going to have a little Ukraine flag in the upper right-hand corner and a little button. Click here to send money to the Nazis in Ukraine. Adolf needs you. All right. Thanks a lot, man. Got to get ready to run. The Homeless Left. Matt Weinglass, he's on YouTube. He's on Rumble and THL Presents. We know what that stands for. THL Presents. That is on YouTube. Thanks a lot. How about on X?
X, you can find me, Matt Weinglass and The Homeless Left, both on X right now. So yeah, we do all of we share our stuff on there as well. So also you can catch me on, we're going to go share more about the LA protests and riots later today on Truthwire with Craig Pasta Jardula and Fiorella Isabel. I'll be sharing some exclusive footage with them on that later today.
Oh man, Pasta and Fiorella. Well, tell them I said hi. Two of my favorite people. They're awesome. Love them.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks a lot, everybody. Make sure you share this on all your social media platforms. As always, if you can afford Patreon or buy me a coffee or PayPal or something like that, it's much appreciated. Cash App, you name it. And of course, now Substack also. And of course, now I have a P.O. box, and you can see that scrolling across the bottom. So guess what? You can mail me snail mail if you want to mail a book, if you want to mail a letter of good word, if you want to mail a contribution, anything you want to mail, not quite anything, but most anything feel free to mail it. So thanks a lot. We're out.